What's good, my hugger and kisser? Today we're going to be talking about a bit of a weird topic. I don't really cover stuff like this, but we will be doing today. So I've been thinking a little bit, as you do, as you think, right? And I was scrolling on Twitter and I see a tweet by the infamous Myron Gaines. We all know Myron Gaines. If you don't know, he's part of the Fresh and Fit podcast and a huge member of the Red Pill community. Okay. So he made a tweet here, which is a very interesting tweet, and I want to look at it and I want to dissect it. Okay. So with that being said, let's look at the tweet. So it says, let's be brutally honest here. Women suck at everything when compared to men. We are bigger, stronger, smarter, and more innovative. Men created the refined and great modern world we enjoy today. Even in things that women are supposed to be better at, men dominate. Cooking and cleaning, men are the best chefs, and human sanitation has been innovated predominantly by men. Okay? If women did not offer sex and children, they would offer little to no value to human society. If we had to rely on female ingenuity for the better of mankind, we would still be rubbing sticks together for fire. Now, I already know a retarded feminist or liberal is reading this tweet in rage saying, you came from a woman or women give life. Well, guess what, retards? Women need a man for that too. And men can't have babies. But if they did, we would probably be better than you guys at that too. Don't hate me. Hate the true feminists. Women have historically and correctly have been second-class citizens for a reason. You're in second place in every competition regard, or in every competitive regard when compared to men. So I know that a lot of people have these types of opinions, right? So off the bat, let's just ignore the divisive nature, okay? I think this is something that I don't know if it's like guys who aren't dealing with like women personally, or I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of things like this, and I understand where he's coming from, but you have to realize that God didn't just make two species that create life and didn't make them equilibrium in some aspect, right? That's just not how it works. So I think that's something that is not said often, is that women play a specific role. And now with feminism, right, it's trying to put them in a role that they don't fit in, right? But the role that they do fit in, they dominate that role, okay? Okay, like raising children, okay? That's just one little mini example, okay? Women are better at nurturing kids than men. I don't know why people don't think that. They are, okay? Now, in terms of raising what type of kid, right? Like, for instance, a general woman will be better at taking care of a kid than a guy would, but a man would raise a better man than a woman can. You get what I mean? There's gender specifics. But something that I think is just ignored a lot in these like comparisons is, dude, as someone who's lived with women my entire, if you don't know, I've lived with every demographic all the way up to literally 90 years old. Women and men are literally the exact same. The only difference is that they react to information differently. Men will react to the information logistically, and women will react emotionally. That's it. So their self-interest, you can find a woman who likes skateboarding just as much as a nigga likes skateboarding, or a nigga who likes cars just as much as a girl likes cars. Now, predominantly more girls like girly shit, and predominantly more men like manly shit, right? But something that is like just not said a lot, I guess, is they're in equilibrium. So just like in literal genetics, there's a dominant gene and there's a recessive gene. There's the submissive gene and there's the dominant gene, right? So women have to have, in a sense, are made or built for a form of subservience. That's how they genetically developed. Now, what's happening now in feminism culture is that they're trying to put them in roles of domination when that's just not the criteria that's not where they are their best at. So of course you're going to compare the two in an area where they're not meant to be at. So obviously, right? But so his point, it's more so like a bad faith argument because the initiative is not in the criteria of their expertise, or whether they naturally are or have an advantage in it, right? Like saying that is retarded. Like that's it's just retarded. Okay. So someone replied and they said, Myron, I typically agree with you, but not on this. I think men and women provide a balance to one another for sure. They each better suited for different things, but there's no value in simply bashing women. Men and women, not men and modern women. So something that is, and this is kind of what I've always said, kind of in a joking manner, but a lot of people complain about bitches, but they raise their daughter like bitches, right? And it's kind of, I'm obviously joking, but it is somewhat true in a sense where like the newer girls are more so, it's not that they can't do it, they're just being put on a pedestal, or they're put in positions of like having an advantage. And this is just the feminism, like his argument being coerced from the feminism movement, but not the general sense of how a woman can operate. Like, you get what I mean? So the feminism movement is like women are just like the argument of it. I'm gonna put up the Knuckles like argument on it, or his whole like synopsis on it. It's literally like a moment from a show, but it really gets down to what it means. What it generally means is the fact that you're going on the basis of the argument that feminism is a thing. It already means that there's a specific difference between them, right? Like in terms of the movement that they use it in a sense where it's like a woman should be a cop or something, right? But that's not a field in which a woman would be more advantageous. Like, I would rather a girl be on dispatch than an actual on-field cop, because that's not something that they reside in. You know, you get what I mean? Like, so the fact that you're arguing the point of contention, which is the feminism like argument, you're already basically confirming that there's an actual difference between them. But so that's that, right? That's the difference. There is a difference, but there's a balance in between their value as a whole in the difference. So it's not that there's like bitches are just completely fucking idiotic and they just don't. A lot of girls play dumb. That's one thing. But there's a lot of like misconceptualized understanding, and I think this also plays into race as well. I think that a lot of people think like you know how like they say like certain areas in the world are like lower in IQ and stuff like that and whatnot. I think that there's a huge differential like confirmation in intelligence. I think that someone who's born in Africa and what you would consider low IQ, and someone who's born in America who's considered high IQ, I think that that's not how it works. The human brain is the human fucking brain, and it has the capability to learn just as long as there's no defects, right? It has the capability to learn just as much as any other person. Okay, so obviously your geological area is going to be different just based on your surroundings, but the specifications and how someone can intellectually understand things, like how men and women can, like they try to say that men are smarter than women. There's no study that says that women are like, there's no study where you can't come to a defined answer that a man can't be just as dumb as a woman and a woman can't be just as dumb as a man, or vice versa, smart ass, right? Like the person with the highest IQ living today is a woman. It just is what it is. It's not that they can't, it's just the area that they are. So it's in more common areas, right? In terms of brute force, logistics, communications, things like that, a man will have more dominance in that. But if we're talking about nurturing, like embroidery, clothing, makeup, like things like that, like those are things that they are good at. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there's also the creative factor, and this is what I'm getting with the geopolitic areas, right? So let's say we do the measurement of someone's IQ based on race, right? You do realize that IQ is based on mostly based on logistics and problem solving and your ability to focus and hone in on a specific problem. But other than that, it means nothing. Like an IQ is just a measurement of how good you are at logistics, properties, and things like that. It means nothing in the cosmos of creativity, musical intelligence. There's different forms of intelligence that no IQ test can measure, right? So there's people, right? Whatever you want to consider race or whatever the case may be, there's people who think more logistically, but there's also people who outweigh that in creative ability. So this person is more creative than this other person, but this person may be a little bit more smart in terms of book smarts, but this person would never be as more street smart as this person, or this person would never be as more book smart as person. So the specification in between these parties is totally indifferential when you actually look at the logistics. Like, the specification is that everything is born equal, literally. So it's just there's a balance sheet. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know a lot of stuff that girls do, right, besides like basic girly shit, but in terms of their value as a species, or just as people in general, I think that what's happened is the feminism movement, which is over the years, has deteriorated them as a whole because of the movement, but them as a actual group, as a gender, is not low in value, nor can be less intellectual, nor can be less powerful than you. Like, that's just not how it works. Now, I'm not talking about powerful in brute force, right? Like, I'm talking about in just intellect, pure intellect as a whole, right? Because right now, I'm pretty sure in college, women are dominating men in the field, okay? It just is what it is. So look right here. Here's a tweet right here, okay? It says, "I'm glad we have women, and there's still amazing women today. My mom is one of the strongest people I know. But Myron has valid points when looking at society as a whole. 90% of young women today want to be a Kardashian chick, all about money, popularity." So this is about the movement. "Hooking up on social media instead of traditional women who wants to raise a family and has good values. They love drama as well for some reason, lol." Females need, or at least want to look at drama, is more so of their sort of chaotic nature. Like a cat fight, right? You know, they say a cat fight. Dogs like to leave their shit out. Cats like to cover their shit up. Girls just like drama. It's just a part of their nature, right? This guy brings up a great point, right? And I think that it's sort of the movement of feminism. It's about social media. It's about the whole movement as a whole, in which why women now are acting the way that they do. But in a general sense, like, let's say we don't have any feminism and we destroy the whole feminism archy, because that's what it is. It's not that these things are actually like predicated and they actually make sense to have a woman being, you know, a fucking police officer. Like, I don't think women should be a police officers. I just don't think they're not efficient in it. They're not meant to be in that field. It just is what it is, right? Like, sure, you'll get like a tomboyish chick who probably is good enough, but it'll never be as efficient. Now but why? Because that's not the field that they reside in. A female officer is not going to be as good as a male officer because she can't run as fast, she can't be as strong, right? And these are things that you need in that field. But let's say we're talking about even just a simple being a fucking, I don't know, a fucking hair salon lady or some shit, I don't know, or like whatever girly shit girls do. Like, girls will know exactly what the girls want, you know what I'm saying? So in terms of like as a whole, like it's like the argument doesn't make sense, because the argument obviously of a basis is a said argument, if that makes, like, okay, in the sense of society as a whole, what do you need for a good society? You need good infrastructure, you need good buildings, you need a good monetization system, you need good structures, etc. Well, the guys are already strong as fuck, so obviously they're going to be building the buildings. They're already think logistically, so they're already going to be architecting the buildings, etc. But the mind already knows what it needs to do. It just doesn't matter if one person can do or figure it out, because a girl can figure out how to do math. A girl can figure out how to do that. It just depends on how they respond to the information, or if they can actually do it in terms of strength or physical ability. But let's say we need, you know, we need more people to create the buildings and build the buildings. Well, who are you going to go to for that? Okay, you're going to go to a girl, okay, because you need to make babies. Okay, well, who's going to take care of the babies? Okay, who's going to teach the baby emotional intelligence? Who's going to teach the baby how to nurture? Who's going to teach the baby the empathetic divine side of the energy? It's divine nature. It's how things are birthed, how they're shaped, how things, it matters. Women matter. It's not about being a feminist bitch. It's about understanding that they actually have a value in the world. Like, this is a brain dead take. It's it's an idiotic take, but he also gives people like the bad side up. And so there's going to be men who actually agree with these statements. It sucks. It sucks. And he's preying on them. Look at this right here. We as a society only as good as how we treat our women. Hello? Yeah. Okay, sorry, I gotta call this. It says, we as a society are only as good as we treat our women. If you cannot see the finite value of people's ancestors stored in their blood, you have lost sight of what matters in life. Without them, there are no communities, no nation, no future. A man without a woman is still a boy, shackled by childish and selfish whims. A man who has dedicated his means and protection to a woman has done his nation a great service and a greater one to himself. We are two parts as a whole, yin and yang, an equilibrium balance in the foundation of society.
A woman's equal rights lie in the fact that she is treated with the high regard she deserves in those areas of life assigned to her by nature. Women still respected brave, daring, and determined men, and men had always admired and been attracted to feminine women. These were the two opposites which attracted each other in life.
Yep.
And if good fortune would have it that these two people find each other, then the question of equal rights became superfluous, for it had already been answered by nature. It was no longer equal rights, but a single unity. Man and woman represented two intrinsically separate natures. In men, reason was dominant, but more stable than this was the emotion evidenced in women. When I returned from prison after 13 months of imprisonment, when the party had been shattered, it was above all female party comrades who had held the movement together. They did not succumb to clever or reason-oriented deliberation, but acted according to their hearts. And they have stood by me emotionally till today. If our opponents were to allege, you want to degrade women by assigning to them no other task beyond providing children, he would reply that it is not a degradation to a woman to become a mother, but the contrary. It is her utmost elevation.
I think that it's not. I think that women have a lot more patience. They have a lot more. They're a lot more easier. They have a more consistency. They're more delicate. So when it comes to things like that, that's where they really have an actual like advantage, right? And I think that something right now that's what's happening is sort of society as a whole is forcing women or telling women that they should be in positions that they just don't operate in the best at, and that's where the confusion happens. So you have like a argument, but it's not a true argument based on the fact that God created the species to, like, a woman is meant to be submissive, but women are now being told to be more dominant and almost more masculine and be the men or whatever. And so But the thing is, the guys are being shunned for this. So they're being told, they're being displaced by like Karens and shit to be told that they are, or like being put at a disadvantage and being told that they aren't as qualified, or at least aren't being able to be put in positions or whatever the case may be on the basis of that, right? Like you have said female or toxic masculinity being shunned, but then they're like, we want masculine men, but whenever a masculine man does some toxic shit, then he gets shunned for it. So it's a totally different ball game that we're dealing with. We're dealing with femininity destroying the nuclear family and destroying the values of a modern family, which will now destroy your conception or your perception of how women actually have a value in society as a whole. They have as much as value as much as a man. It's just a different value. You know what I mean? Like a man, like they said right here, a man without a woman is just a boy. You really need that nurturing spirit of a woman, that divine energy. It shapes character. It shapes your personality, how you express yourself as a person. It's the spectroscopy of the thing. It's a continuum. There's no way you can just sit here. So this take is so, it's a low IQ caught in the femininity trap take, and not really the God and the universe made an equilibrium species to balance each other out to create a greater economy or create a greater society as a whole. Like sitting here and saying this is about as brain dead as it gets. Like in my last video, my chaperone video, where I was talking about the femininity is literally destroying it, because they're putting it everywhere. That's the problem, is that they're trying to put it everywhere and not put it in the areas in which it makes sense, or where it actually is prosperous. So like it works, but it doesn't, because it deteriorates the guys of their own innate value. And so like, since you're deteriorating them of their own innate value, or like the sides that they actually exceed in, now you have a lesser commonality, or you're going to have less masculine men if you're replacing all the masculine men with women. It's very simple, right? Or at least replacing the fields in which they reside in with this feminism movement, right? Because now you're going to have less of an entropy in terms of a solvent for your society, whatever you're trying to do, right? And so, but women have their own area of criteria. Like when the niggas used to go off to war, the women would nurture the men. The men would go off to war, and then the medics would be the women. That's just even literally even in gaming, in Marvel Rivals, who's gonna be, or in Overwatch or anything like that, who's gonna be the guy, or who's gonna be on the front line? You're gonna have the guy who's playing a tank, or who's playing a DPS or something like that, right? And more than likely, the girl is going to be the healer. But you can't. But when the healer goes down, the entire thing goes down. You can't have the girl not healing. You can't have the guy just on the front line by himself. Like, the girl plays just as much as a role as the guy does. You get what I mean? So ignore all of that bullshit of like women are equal as men, or etc. Like, it's bullshit, and it's annoying, because you got niggas who really think that. That's the problem. You got them thinking that, and it's like hardwiring their brain, like, and that's how you get that psychotic, like Andrew Tate type of mentality. Now, a lot of times it's clip farming, but a lot of times, if somebody doesn't know that and they're not mature enough to understand that nigga's just clip farming, then you're gonna get niggas who really think like women suck, women are degradable, and women are horrible, like you should just shit on women all the time. It's like, no, bro, there's a form of masculinity that you have to show in order to, stop the indecisive nature, and show like, okay, let me lead you this way, let me tell you, let me provide for you, let me protect you, in a sense. And then the rest of it, it's all for the jakes. Like, you don't have to sit here and degrade them as a fucking person. Like, it's still a person, bro. It's still, you gotta see, like, you have to think, like, destroy everything you think about men and women. Just think about it as A and B, like, or black and white, yin and yang. Like, it's just a piece that completes itself, but it's obviously not the same piece. So whatever the piece is doing is going to be probably better in a different piece. Then, like a puzzle piece, like you see like two puzzle pieces, this shape of this puzzle piece is slightly different, right? And this shape of this puzzle piece is slightly different, right? But they still connect together perfectly. That's how it works, okay? And they're still puzzle pieces. They still work, operate in the same sense, but one of them fits the other one differently, is what it is, okay? That's really about it. I just kind of wanted to yap about that, because I'm tired of seeing niggas just talk about like, and I already know there's going to be like some drone who's going to be like, you get called, like, if you do this, you get called a simp, or like a bitch, right? Of understanding that humans have innate value, but you get called that, and I guess it's just like a shun card, but it's not that. I understand that you got to have that masculinity regardless, right? Like, it has nothing to do. It's not that, you know what I'm saying, I'm just gonna sit here and get bitched, but it's that you gotta know where to put that thing, where to put the subservience. Where do you dominate your subservience? Where do you dominate in nurturing, etc., divine energy, etc.? But obviously, like, he's gonna call this a simp take, etc. It's not a simp take. It's a high IQ, 200 IQ take. You know what I'm saying? It's not even it's just a common sense take. I don't know, but regardless, that's really, I just kind of want to yap about that. But with that being said, that's gonna wrap up for today. Yes, sir. So I'll see you when you're older. Peace.